So, first of all, when we look at creative writing, what is creative writing? Creative writing is a writing method which needs you to go outside the box, outside the professional business writing rules and all the rules that are there for writing. Like you need to go outside of that. Creative writing is something that allows you to flow all the creativity that you have in a written form, right? And those can happen due to use of literary tropes like images, videos, and use of similes and everything. So let's look at some of the elements of creative writing. So unique plot. What is unique plot? Unique plot is unique plot भनेको चाहिँ now मैले इङ्ग्लिसमा बोल्नुपर्छ कि
होइन मिक्स गर्नु
So unique plot भनेको चाहिँ it's like a story हैन unique plot भनेको एउटा सबैको story हुन्छ एउटा twist हुन्छ नि like एउटा storyमा. So that's called unique plot. For example, the president of United States got kidnapped by an alien or something like that. That's one unique plot. And this video character development is all the characters that you have. Like this can also be related in business writing. Like all the stakeholders can be your characters. Like whoever you're writing about, those are your characters. And creative writing, like character development is एकदम important जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई. It's because like the character like कसरी जस्तै एउटा series को example लिऊ हैन. सुरुमा it's like there's a character like भर्खर freshly introduced भएको छ. त्यो character like कसरी अब त्यो character को impression कस्तो develop गर्दै जान्छ हैन. त्यो कुरा same relate गर्न मिल्छ business writing मा पनि. So there's character development. I mean there's an underlying theme which is like the main message of what you are writing. Right? So what's the core message of what you're writing over there? And there's visual descriptions, of course, to make the writing more attractive. Visual descriptions can include pictures, videos, infographics, and other sorts of visual descriptions. Point of view, when you write, there's always 3 point of views. First, second, and third. When you first point of view, it's always like me, of course. Using business writing, creative writing, you can always like think outside the box. So there's always a me. So that's the first point of view. Second point of view is like the second person. So you, and this is the third person when you go, them, or like this. That's like a third person. So you can like be as creative as you can in this one. And of course there are dialogues. Dialogues when you go, you say creative part or dialogues when you go. Movies or we can hear dialogues which can like attract us to watch even more, which can influence us to see like other like sequels or dialogues or impressions or ratings or ratings. So it applies the same when it comes to creative writing as well. So you write dialogues and you can make it better. And there's imaginative language. Imaginative language is like storytelling. Let's say imagination. एका देशमा एउटा भनेपछि अब त्यो मान्छेहरूले पहिले अब सोच्न थाल्छ हैन त्यो उनीहरुले त्यो स्टेटमा लानु सक्ने स्किललाई चाहिँ इमेजिनेटिभ ल्याङ्ग्वेज भन्यो. And there is emotional appeal, of course, how you can target your readers or your audience's emotional aspects while they're reading, right? So take where I go. So mastering these 8 skills in creative writing can help you become a very good storyteller and a very good creative writer. Okay. So here are some of the examples of creative writing, which are novels, short stories, poetry, plays, memoirs. Memoirs, when you say to break it down in like a simple one, it's basically historical things or bio. This is like biographies of people. So all those kind of things comes under memoirs. And there are TV show scripts, movie scripts, songs, speeches, etc. There could be more as well. So these are just a few examples of creative writing. So storytelling is all about these 3 things. Number one is character development. How you pursue the character, like so firstly and some of the character like कसरी चाहिँ develop गर्दै लाग्यो. That's the first thing. Second thing is conflict. Conflict is always fun when there is creative writing. एउटा monotony लाई हटाउँछ हैन conflictले चाहिँ. So एउटा like good start भयो भने like there should always be an emotional roller coaster. Like a good time and a bad time, like ला यस्तो भयो अनि ला फेरि त्यस्तो भयो टाइपको कुराहरू. So conflict चाहिँ हुनै पर्छ हैन like creative writingमा चाहिँ. अनि त्यसपछि त्यो conflictलाई अब how do you make it better? Like how do you solve that conflict, right? So resolution चाहिँ चाहिन्छ. So if you master these three things, like you will become a very good storyteller. And moving on to the next slide. So while you tell a story, like these are the things that you need to consider, or you need to have in your mind. So number one is know your goal. Like, what is your goal? Like, why are you writing the paper, right? And know your story. Like, what's your story? Like, it could be like a real incident, or it could be anything, right? Like, but you should know what you're writing about. And this was the narrative persuasion, like how you can persuade like your readers. And catering the experience with, like it's similar. So catering the experience is, I think, is like a skill, like how you can make the reader's experience like better, like while they read it. Like I can take an example. Like for example, there's a shop A and shop B, like business people, like while we go to those two shops, like we might have different experiences while we purchase things or stuff, right? That might influence us to do some of the things. It's the same thing over here. So it's catering the experience is like how we can make the reader's experience better. Okay, so you should always have a passionate style, of course. Everyone has a different individual style. So you should always be passionate about your own individual style in writing. So that's the style, and you take it from the oral traditions. So Purano traditions are really like you should always you can take references from them. You can learn from those traditions that were missing in Sophitsa. So now we're moving on to business writing. Business writing, I'm sorry, it's not business writing. So business writing is there are like 10 C's that you need to perfect in order to be a good business writer or professional writer. Number one is complete. Complete भनेको like जे कुरा पनि like हामीले लेख्दाखेरि कहिलेकाहीँ sometimes we forget like if we write an email or something to our colleagues or केही कुराको कुराहरू लेख्यो भने चाहिँ the information चाहिँ जहिले पनि complete हुनुपर्छ. Like त्यो half information कहिले पनि हुनुहुँदैन हैन. For example, if you're sending an invitation to a person, but then what if you don't send a location? That's not a complete information, right? So do complete one. Concise is trying to make it as short and sweet as possible. Concise, for example, difficult, get a bad disaster or whatever. It's not necessary for you to say bad because the word disaster itself is already a bad word, right? So the empty words are like madness or something. This is good. Try to make it short and sweet, it's concise. Clarity, of course, you can understand by the word itself. You need to make your content your writing is very clear. For you, like you should always have it in your head that the person that's reading your paper might not exactly know the knowledge, like the information that you have. So considering them not knowing, you should put yourself in their shoes and also try to write from there, like and another point is conversational. Conversational again, it's like conversation is like putting yourself in other shoes, right? So you make it as like you write like the way like you talk. That's like conversational or like for example, you should not always assume so conversational is like both persons knowing about the same topic so then they can communicate better, right? So you should make it as conversational as possible. Correct भनेको चाहिँ अब you should be careful about things while you write. For example, when you're writing an email to a person or let's say a higher authoritative or your customers, कहिले काहीँ हामीले like Mr. like there are like very similar names. म नाम नै लिँदाखेरि हुन्छ कि हुँदैन but there are like एकदमै common names हुन्छ जुन चाहिँ like which can match like both genders sometimes, right? So त्यो केटाको पनि नाम हुन सक्छ केटीको पनि नाम हुन सक्छ. So त्यस्तो कुराहरू we need to be very careful about the correctness of our writing. Miss के something हामीले लेख्दियौँ भने it could also be a Mr. right or others. So we should be very careful about those things. So त्यो कुरालाई हामीले consider गर्नु पर्यो. Being coherent is being logical. Your writing should make a logical explanation to the readers. And credibility is of course about the trust. Like how are you gonna, this is, I think there's like creativity, your credibility programma. There's creativity and there's like hard science and art in this credibility programma. Like you as a writer, how can you make yourself, your writing credible? Like it could be grammar mistakes that could make your paper less credible. It could be the way you write, the fonts, or the visual descriptions of a combo. You might talk about biased things in your writing, which can make you less credible. Right? So biased like sensitive. For example, Gautam Buddha, where is he born? This is the if you write like yehi ho, then it could make you less credible if you don't like keep citations and everything. So citations are doing so. So there are various ways of making yourself credible, which are the sciences and the art of like credibility is all about your writing style. So this like being credible or concrete one, you say it's like how much weight can you give to your writing? So this could be through the like use of words or whatever words or say concrete one like say you can also like for example 8 out of 10 staffs say you right okay, I'll give you an example. Like if there's two advertisements over there, like first advertisement let's say धेरैजना मान्छेहरूले चाहिँ राम्रो भनेको छ यो प्रडक्टलाई भनेर versus the second advertisement says like 90% out of 100 says or like 50,000 जना 80,000 मा 50,000 जनाले चाहिँ यो प्रडक्ट राम्रो छ भनेर एउटा statistics दियो भने that gives the writing more weight. So this is the stats राखेर like you can give your writing more weight. So that is concrete. Being courteous is obviously showing courtesy. Writing on that, showing politeness, humbleness, and being considerate is like making the reader's experience more convenient. So it could be the use of bullet points, it could be the use of pictures and everything. How you can explain your writing in the most convenient way to the readers. So these are the tendencies for business writing. Now let's move on to the tips for effective business writing. So less is more, right? It's not always necessary like for you to write like tons and tons of information for you to make a paper very good. Sometimes like the less you have, the better it is. And avoid jargon, like jargons are going to say like obstacles or challenges or so try to avoid them. Like it's not very include also like empty words or like just like words or something exclude wording. And write once, check twice. Write once, check twice. Say it's like you need to like proofread a lot more than like editing. Proofread like proofread going for it. And pay special attention to names, titles, and genders. So this is again about being very careful about who you're addressing by your writing and all those kind of things. You need to be very careful. Save templates. And be professional, not necessarily formal. So you don't always have to be a perfectionist when you write down. Like you don't have to use like fancy words or something. Be in business writing. Like all it needs to have those tendencies that I've talked about. So not necessarily formal. It can be conversational, right? That's what I'm trying to say. So remember the 5 W's, like this is like which, where, when, and then there's and how. I mean, other W's here.
Why?
Why? Okay, so these things you need to remember, like always. So it's not that there's so what theory when you apply or so whatever you write down, like there's always a so what to that, right? So to call to action, so like whenever you're doing business writing, you need to have in your head like call to action. How do you like make people engage in the things you write, or because of it? So don't give too many choices because the choices are the so you just be focused, you be concise, and you be focused as a laser on what you write down. So this is my presentation for business reviews, right? Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
That was nice.
What is it? This is I'm just generalizing everything, but
then to the point. So simple explanation with examples, that was very good, right? So you're going to also do a concise presentation thing.
मैले stock phrases there are so many things I forgot to talk about. मैले त्यस्तो कुरा चाहिँ भन्नु खोजेको हजुर I can be more prepared. Concise मा मैले ठ्याक्क त्यो stock phrases घरमा चाहिँ मैले याद गरेको थिएँ. When there is like concise आउने बित्तिकै मैले stock phrases कुराहरु चाहिँ भनेको थिएँ.
Just हजुरले बुझ्नु भएको छ त्यो कुरा हैन?
Stock phrases भनेको चाहिँ like please do feel free to call me or त्यस्तो हुन्छ नि.
त्यसलाई जस्तो लामोलाई नि हामीले कन्साइज गरेर एक्जाम्पल्सहरु दिएको थियौँ.
त्यस्तो कुराहरु हो. अलिकति लाइक पर्सनलाइज गर्नुपर्छ लेख्दाखेरि चाहिँ it's like म्यामले त्यहाँ एक्जाम्पल दिनुभएको थियो हैन. So if you have any problems like don't hesitate to or and then नाम पनि भनेको हुन्छ नि पवन or something त्यसमा. अनि अझै चाहिँ त्यो भन्नु कुरा.
I'm writing to let you know about our upcoming meeting. I'm writing भनेर
just
actually writing.
indicate गर्ने अब पर्सन है.
Direct अब चाहिँ हो हैन? Precise तरिकाले लेख्ने. Concrete भन्नुभयो नि. Concrete भनेको it's like precise details नि. त्यो डिटेललाई चाहिँ precise तरिकाले लेख्ने. So पहिला पवनजीको feedback भन्नुस् अनि त्यसपछि म बोल्छु.
Sorry, any questions?
एकदम राम्रो लाग्यो.
Thank you.
त्यस्तो के एउटा पनि देख्नु
सबै राम्रो छ. केही इम्प्रुभ गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ?
त्यस्तो देखिन मन पर्यो.
मलाई पनि एकदम राम्रो लाग्यो तर आजको भन्दा पनि त्यस एससिएमको जुन प्रेजेन्टेसन थियो मार्केटिङ स्ट्राटेजिजको द्याट वाज मच बेटर.
I was prepared.
कस्तो पावरफुल थियो त्यसको त्यो प्रेजेन्टेसन हैन. अनि यो चाहिँ एकदम मजाले एक्सप्लेन गर्नु भएको छ. सो इफ एनीबडी वाज बिगिनर हियर they would have understood easily तपाईँले जुन तरिकाले प्रेजेन्ट गर्नुभयो. सो द्याट्स भेरी नाइस. सो त्यतिखेर त अर्कै स्ट्राटेजी भयो. मार्केटिङ स्ट्राटेजीको कुरा गर्नुभएको थियो एन्ड we're actually targeting हुन्छ नि somebody who was already in the market. त्यो already त्यो फिल्डमा उत्रनु भइसकेको मान्छेहरूलाई के भने this time it was more for the beginners. Somebody who's just started with learning about content writing. So business writing र creative writing कुरा गर्नुभयो. अनि म फर्स्ट पनि जान्छु. Everything was okay. सानो सानो ग्लिचेसहरु अब त्यो त भइहाल्छ हैन. हामी अब यो ह्युमन एन्ड मेकिङ मिस्टेक्स त्यो नचाहिकन पनि मिस्टेक्स जस्तो फर एक्जाम्पल पिक्चर ब्लर छ है. है यो पनि एकदमै केयरफुल हुने त्यस्तो कुराहरू इमेज राख्दाखेरि अहिले त अब यहाँ चाहिँ देयर प्रेजेन्टिङ इन टर्म्स अफ लर्निङ एट द सेम टाइम हैन. तर बाहिर अब प्रोफेसनल प्रेजेन्टेसनहरू दिनुहुन्छ भने चाहिँ यस्तो कुराहरू एकदम आइरहेको छ हेर्नुहोस् त. सो ब्लर इमेज हैन. सुरुदेखि मैले याद गरेको थिएँ इभन त्यो लेटर्स हैन कुनै बोल्ड कुनै स्मल इफ you could go back to the slides.
All the slides?
Yeah, I am suggesting you to make your presentation better in terms of the visually पनि राम्रो क्लियर देखिनु पर्यो नि प्रेजेन्टेसन. यो चाहिँ कस्तो भन्दा हजुरको प्रेजेन्टेसन बनाउनको लागि इट्स भेरी ओभर कन्ट्रोल हैन. rather than they're talking about like तपाईले बिजनेस राइटिङ बारेमा राम्रो भन्नुभयो भन्नु खोजेको नि. It was very nice to the point थियो. तर अब in terms of presentation first thing जान्छ चाहिँ
First thing.
अघिको okay then the next one. Next slide. So, यसरी point out गरेको that was very nice with the numbering. Bullet points point out गरेको अनि यो पनि एकदमै visually एकदमै राम्रो छ हैन. What is creative writing space and then a question mark, right? Writing मा कहिले पनि space हुँदैन before the question mark, before the full stop, exclamation mark हरू, right? So याद गर्ने है सो मैले याद गरेको चाहिँ याद भयो होइन
जोडेरै लेख्नुपर्छ
it has to be together, no space after writing it. Question mark agadi, full stop agadi, comma agadi, there is space in it, right? And then more of an art by the use of literary tropes. Say full stop side and everything, right? Because that is also an end of sentence.
Yes.
So some कुरा चाहिँ पछि लाई याद गर्नु लागि
तिमीले यो पावरपोइन्ट बाट बनाएको
हजुर म त्यो ट्राई गर्छु
ड्राइभमा स्लाइड छ नि त्यो पनि सजिलो छ कि चलाउन
हैन त्यो पनि गर्छु म मैले पावरपोइन्ट अस्ति भर्खर डु नट मार्केटिङ गरेको थिएँ
हजुर
मैले त्यही भएर उनीहरू अरू टुल्स हो कि भनेर सोचेको
त्यो पनि सजिलै छ अनि त्यो भयो अनि अर्को चाहिँ अब नेक्स्टमा जान्छ एक्चुअली
मैले गुगल ड्राइभ कुन भन्नुभयो
गुगल ड्राइभमा स्लाइड्स छ त्यो डकुमेन्ट छ होइन अनि एक्सेल सिटहरू छ स्लाइड्स छ
स्लाइड्समा ब्याङ्क
लेफ्ट साइड
तर मलाई त्यो गुगल स्लाइड एकदमै इट हेज भेरी लिमिटेड फिचर्स जस्तो लाग्यो इट्स बेटर टु युज पावरपोइन्ट आई थिंक
पावरपोइन्ट त सबै राम्रो इमेजेसहरू राम्रो लाइक कलर
फिचर्स हजुर फन्ट्सहरू धेरै छ
पोलिटिक्स त्यही चलाइरहेको
हुन्छ त्यही चलाउनु
अब जान्छ त्यसमा चाहिँ भिजुअल अलि भएन
यो राम्रो छ है तपाईँले पोइन्ट आउट गर्नु भएको छ मजाले त्यसपछि स्मल लेटर अर्को जानुहोस् त नेक्स्ट स्लाइड आफ्टर दिस आई थिङ्क सो यहाँ चाहिँ सबै क्यापिटल छ सङ्ग्स र स्पिचेस स्मल लेटरमा छ अनि क्रिएटिभ राइटिङको डब्ल्यू पनि स्मलमा छ माथि हेडलाइन
हजुर
है
क्यापिटलमा छ भन्नु हैन
कि त सबैको क्यापिटल हजुर क्रिएटिभको सी क्यापिटल गर्नुभयो नि राइटिङको पनि डब्ल्यूलाई क्यापिटल गर्नुभयो
यस्तो खालको एउटा ट्रेन्ड थियो नि पहिला पहिला एउटा क्यापिटल राइस भन्ने याद छ यहाँलाई याद
थाहा छैन मलाई
छ नि यहाँ
यो ठिक छ सो जुन हजुरले स्पेस दिनुभएको छ नि
हजुर
यो हामीलाई कस्तो भने भिजुअली पनि कस्तो राम्रो देखियो कि सजिलो इजी टु अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड यो
अझ माथि अन्डरलाइन गरेको है
अब यो प्रेजेन्टेसन राख्ने अलिक गाह्रो हुन्छ होला माइन्डमा
क्लियर भयो सबै बुलेट पोइन्ट्स नै हुनुपर्छ भन्छ होइन है ठिक छ राम्रो छ यो पनि राम्रो छ क्लियर छ नेक्स्ट जानुहोस्
यसमा चाहिँ मैले पोइन्ट्स धेरै राखेँ कि जस्तो लाग्यो
होइन तर जे हो त्यो देखाउनु परिहाल्यो we're talking about the 10 C's it has to be there
and like maybe I can split like 5 other into another slide but is it fine
ठिक छ यो एकदम वान वर्ड छ नि त वान की वर्ड छ नि त द्याट्स फाइन है अब यो कुरा पनि क्रेडिबलमा छ नि त्यो फ्याक्टहरू हामीले मेन्सन गर्छौँ होइन बिजनेसको फ्याक्टहरू जान्छ है जस्तो हामीले रिसर्चको कुरा गऱ्यौँ रिसर्च टेक्निक्सको कुरा गऱ्यौँ प्राइमेरी रिसर्च सेकेन्डरी रिसर्च होइन ब्याक बाई सम फ्याक्ट्स होइन जे हो त्यो कुरा पनि जान्छ त्यो एउटा बेसिक कुरा होइन अनि त्यही हो कङ्क्रिट भनेको या इट्स लाइक प्रिसाइज डिटेल होइन एकदमै डिटेलमा प्रिसाइज तरिकाले मिनिङफुल तरिकाले चाहिँ एक्सप्रेस गर्ने है
ए मिनिङफुल कम्प्लिट
है मिनिङफुल तरिकाले होइन ठिक छ तपाईँले भनेको नि द्याट वाज नट रङ इट वाज राइट तर मेन पोइन्ट चाहिँ कि प्रिसाइज तरिकाले सबै डिटेल्स मिनिङफुल तरिकाले चाहिँ अनि त्यसपछि आएर अनि त्योभन्दा अगाडिको स्लाइडमा जुन के चाहे त्यो अब क्रिएटिभ राइटिङमा होस् अथवा बिजनेस राइटिङमा पनि होस् प्रोफेसनली पनि त्यो कुरालाई चाहिँ हामीले केटर गर्नु पऱ्यो है अरू ठिक छ अनि एउटा नम्बरको पार्ट चाहिँ मिसिङ थियो नेक्स्टमा जानुहोस् न 1 र हेर्नुहोस् त नम्बर 1 यो इन्टेन्सनली गर्नु भएको कि बाई मिस्टेक हो बाई मिस्टेक है नम्बर 1 र नम्बर 6 है अब कुनै बिजनेस कजको लागि प्रेजेन्टेसन छ भने चाहिँ यस्तो कुराहरू चाहिँ एकदम केयरफुल हुने स्मल
जाबर भन्ने म्यानेजर चाहिँ एक्सन गर्नु भएको थियो नि तिमीले त्यो गरेको थिएन त्यो बिर्सिहाल्छ
यो भयो होइन होइन मिस्टेक हुन्छ मेरो पनि कति भयो होला स्लाइड्समा होइन मेरो कति स्पेलिङ मिस्टेकहरू एररहरू भइरहेको हुन्छ तर प्रोफेसनली प्रेजेन्टेसन दिँदै हुन्छ नि कुराहरू चाहिँ पनि याद गर्ने ठिक छ राम्रो छ
So how the picture?
राम्रो छ सो अनि यसमा चाहिँ अब थप्ने भनेको नेक्स्ट टाइम प्रेजेन्टेसनहरू गर्दाखेरि अलिकति इन्टरेक्सन यु क्यान आस्क हिम क्वेसन होइन जो यहाँ हुनुहुन्छ अडियन्सहरू उहाँहरूलाई क्वेसन सोध्ने
लाइक लास्ट लागि बिचमा
बिचमा एकैचोटि धेरै लामो इट इज लाइक 10 मिनट्स प्रेजेन्टेसन एउटा क्वेसन सोधिदिनुहोस् न बिचमा डोन्ट वेस्ट यर टाइम एन्ड देयर टाइम एज वेल एउटा एकदमै की पोइन्ट के जुन अब हामीले लेख्ने बेलामा वी स्टार्ट विथ द पनिसमेन्ट
So disconnect.